Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to my Zoom town hall meeting for Monday, May 18th. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes and give you updates and answer any questions that you may have. This week, I'm happy to be joined by Jessica Casey, my Chief of Economic and Community Development, Steve Kleppen, the Director of Planning and Zoning, and Sabrina Church, Director of Business Development and Tourism. I felt it appropriate to have these individuals here today because we wanted to discuss the outdoor dining and outdoor retail permits and how we're going to be working with our local businesses and how we're going to be doing everything we can to make the process as transparent, as seamless, and expedited as possible so that it's not going to be cumbersome to make it too difficult for anybody to apply and to make it a long, drawn-out process. So just some housekeeping notes here. If you have any questions, please type your questions by hitting Q&A on the bottom of the screen. We'll do the best to answer as many questions as we can. Also, of course, my phone would ring right in the middle of it. If you have any questions or concerns you wish to address privately, please email me. My email is very easy to remember. It's just hrilling@norwalkct.org, and I will make sure that I answer the email. If I don't have the answer to your question, I'll make sure I pass it on to somebody who will. So feel free to enter your questions now or during the updates, and we'll get to some Q&A in a few minutes. First of all, just some updates on the city. Right now, unfortunately, we have more than 1,900 positive cases in Norwalk, and even more unfortunately, 115 of our citizens have lost their lives. If you look at the charts we publish online, you'll see that we are slowly coming down from the peak that we had last month, but we are far from out of the woods. And my deepest condolences to the family members of those who have passed on. They're taken way too soon from us. And it's just a really sad thing that each one of those people leaves behind mothers and fathers and sons and daughters and family members. And it's just a very, very difficult time. One of the most difficult parts of my day is when I have to report on more deaths within the city from some of our residents. So please keep their families and them in our thoughts and prayers at all times. So we still need to remain vigilant. As I mentioned, we are not out of the woods yet. I know we're starting to look at the phasing in reopening of the state of Connecticut, phasing in reopening of Norwalk, and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. But we still need to make sure that we practice universal precautions, good protocols, that if we have to go out, that we go out, we wear a mask. Remember, it's not so much that I wear a mask and I prevent myself, it's me preventing somebody else from becoming exposed to the coronavirus. We have to think in terms of other people as well as ourselves. So while some people may feel comfortable going out and not exercising universal precautions, not washing hands, not wearing a mask, going out in large groups, that means that they were a greater likelihood of contracting the virus and thereby a greater likelihood of bringing it back to a loved one, an elderly parent, a grandparent, a sibling, a child. So please keep that in mind when you start thinking about going out and not exercising good social distancing and universal precautions. One of the things that we know in the city of Norwalk and elsewhere is there is a food insecurity. Last week, we held a food drive at Vets Park with the Connecticut Food Bank. More than 39 tons of food was given away to more than 2,000 cars that pass through, families that need food. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are furloughed. Some people are not able to pay their bills. They're not able to pay their rent, their mortgage, their utility bills. This is a very challenging time for everybody. And until we start to get reopened, until we start to move forward, that's going to be the case. So if you can, if you're able, please dig deep, donate to a food bank, donate non-perishable food items, donate cash if you can, because there certainly is a need for food in Norwalk and other surrounding communities. It's real. I'm happy my team was able to get 2 more additional food distribution sites online today. West Rock School and Fox Run School passing out meals to students. If you're 18 or under, you can go and get a meal. You do not have to be a student in the Norwalk Public Schools. The meals are free. You can get in line and pass and get some of the meals. Go to norwalkt.org/meals for local resources, including meal and pantry services. Now, our reopening plan starts on Wednesday, May 20. Vehicular traffic, access to Calf Pasture and Shady Beach will resume. Lots will be at 50% capacity. Residents will be permitted to park in the main lots, which will be about 500 spaces. Non-residents must park at Taylor Farm. There will be a maximum of 50 spots for non-residents. There will be ticketing and towing of all non-residents who park in the main lots. So again, vehicular traffic, May 20th at Calf Pasture Beach and for the Memorial Day weekend. The main lot is limited to Norwalk residents only. There'll be a maximum of 500 spaces, and there will be 50 spaces put aside at Taylor Farm for non-residents. And just to reiterate, non-residents will be ticketed and towed if they park in the main lot. So view the reopen plan at norwalkt.org/reopen. The May 20 date was coordinated with the state of Connecticut, relaxing certain guidelines, notably to include outdoor dining. We are going to, I'll let Jess in a moment talk about the outdoor dining permit plan and how that's working. But again, we're going to be coordinating with the state of Connecticut and their reopen plan with phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 until we get to a point where we feel comfortable. And each phase will depend on certain things occurring, such as a reduction in hospitalizations for 14 days, fewer cases, fewer deaths, and more testing that will be available. So now I'm going to turn the program over to Jess Casey, my Chief of Economic and Community Development. Jess?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Jessica Casey, Chief of Economic and Community Development. Really pleased to be able to announce that the City of Norwalk has launched online permitting for outdoor dining as well as outdoor retail. We've been working really closely with the Mayor's office as well as DPW, police, fire, health, and legal to be able to make this happen. When we spoke with the Mayor last week, after the executive order came out from the state, he had asked us to achieve online permitting with 3 goals and objectives in place. First and foremost, to ensure public health and safety, ensuring that people are doing the right things and have the right guidance from the local level. The second was to create a streamlined process, and that was really key in being able to coordinate all of the different departments, understanding the approval process. What we did is we actually were able to merge 2 separate processes into one, so that when an applicant comes online at the City of Norwalk website, they only need to do 1 application instead of 2 separate applications to be able to get outdoor dining and retail up and running. And the third was to create an expedited process. So part of that is being able to streamline it, getting the 2 applications into one. But the other piece of that is also doing parallel approvals and parallel department review at the same time. So we've created a process in place that allows restaurateurs and business owners to be able to get up and running for outdoor dining and retail in a way that we believe will be expedited. We believe, and we're going to do our best to turn applications around as quickly as possible. We opened the application window this morning at, this afternoon at noon, 12 o'clock today. We have over 20 applications already, 5 of which have approvals from all of the departments and will be issued approvals tomorrow morning. So we're trying to move those through as fast as possible. We've created a process in City Hall to do that. So Norwalk is the first in Fairfield County to be able to get online permitting up and running for outdoor dining and retail, and also the second in Connecticut after Hartford. So really proud of that, and really speaks to Norwalk's passion and Norwalk's commitment to businesses, local businesses that are trying to get open for this season and trying to get onto the next phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as much support as we can give, we're willing to give. So I have two team members here. I have a Director of Planning and Zoning, Steve Kleppen, and Sabrina Church, the Business Development and Tourism Director. And they're really the subject matters experts on this and have developed the policy and the outreach tool. So I'll pass it over to them, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions along the way.
Jess, I truly appreciate it. As I mentioned, or as Jess mentioned, one of the things that I wanted to make sure would happen is we want this process expedited, but we need to make sure that it's safe. We need to make sure that we protect our community, protect the workers who will be serving food. It's just not as simple as putting a table outside. Permits are important to protect the public, making sure that everything is set up. There's going to be health department issues that we need to take care of, if there's any tents or anything like that. So without further ado, to talk a little bit more about the process and the permitting and some of the things that are required, I'll introduce Steve Kleppen. Steve, thank you.
Sure. Mayor, I was going to suggest maybe, Sabrina, could you show them the where first so they know where to go before we get into the what? Is that possible?
Sure. Yep.
Sure. So the where you can get all this information, you can go to norwalkt.org/COVID-19 business resources. All of the FAQ documents, which I'll talk about later, as well as the permits that are online that you can fill out, are all available on that page. Steve, I don't know if you want to go now or if you want me to do the whole gamut of what I was going to talk about first. I'm happy to do that.
I'll go brief and then you can finish up, and then I'll jump in if I need to afterwards.
Okay, sounds good.
Sure. So there's a couple different things you'll need to know, and everything is on the page Sabrina was just alluding to. There is the actual permit form. What we did was, so the city's always had in certain areas an outdoor dining process. If you've been on Washington Street in past years, you would have seen that. So there was certain documents were required. You needed a permit from planning and zoning. There was an agreement that was filed with the law department to make sure what you're doing complies with all the city ordinances. There was also an insurance certificate. So if you're utilizing city property, we want to make sure the city's identified and protected in case there's any kind of accident or any kind of issue while on city property. So what we did was we merged the permit with the agreement into one document, and it's an online fillable form, so you can go through and enter information in. There is no fees associated with any of the outdoor dining or outdoor retail. We felt that was kind of an important step to take at the mayor's initiative at the beginning of this process. And there's where you can upload the documents. And some of those documents I mentioned was the insurance certificate. There's a narrative required by the state, and there's more information on the website that tells you what you need to include. What we've seen so far is these are like a paragraph or two. It's basically the state put out some guidance on what you have to do and to operate your business. And so we requiring you to submit that. You can upload your insurance certificate, and you would get that from your insurance certificate company, your insurance company. And there's some requirements on there in terms of the amount of coverage you need to provide, naming the city as additionally insured, workers' comp, and so forth. But that's all indicated on the paperwork that's up there. So what will happen is you'll upload those documents. My staff will get those. We'll start reviewing it from our end to make sure that the plan, excuse me, I did forget to mention that you need to submit a plan. Does not have to be prepared by an architect or an engineer. We've seen some sketches come in that usually the proprietor puts together. So we'll review those to make sure it meets all of the governor's requirements in terms of separation distances. And we'll forward those plans to the other departments they'll be doing their review as well to make sure that we're maintaining ADA access, there's safe routes out for fire code and so forth. So those departments will be reviewing it while we review it. And the law department's also been looking at it for the insurance certificate standpoint. So that, to Jessica's point, we're trying to streamline that. So we're looking at it in the next department, we're all doing it simultaneously to get the permits out as quickly as possible. So if you have questions about that going forward, or you're wondering where your permits are, there's information on who to contact. My email's on the planning and zoning page. If you get stuck at all, I can get you to the right person and get you an answer as quickly as possible. That's a real brief overview, but there's more information on the website and I'm sure Sabrina will elaborate a little more.
Thank you, Steve. And I'm impressed, for one, knowing that we've had over 20 applications already, and within a few hours, 5 of them are already approved. And I want to thank the team for working so hard to make that happen. I know this is important to the restaurateurs, to the staff, to make sure that they can operate and start getting some revenue stream back. It's been a very challenging time for them, as well as some of the retail outlets and so forth. Again, thank you for working so diligently. And so now we'll turn it over to Sabrina.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to everyone in the business community. You guys have been super understanding and really supportive during this time with us, so I truly appreciate it. Since the beginning of this whole pandemic, we created at City Hall kind of a streamlined communication process where I was available via email and via phone. Whether that was assistance with applications for the state or DECD or any of the guidance that's been released internally and externally, I've been readily available, and you guys have taken advantage of that, which is amazing. Love talking to you guys and love helping you guys out. Navigating this new process that we have in place, however, may be a little challenging for some of you. I know that it might sometimes be the first time you've ever had to apply for an outdoor dining permit, or the first time you're even doing outdoor dining. So we tried to be responsive to that. On Friday, you may have received an email from me, and it was in the mayor's update that we released 2 FAQ documents. Those FAQ documents walked through the entire permitting process that we would be releasing on today at 12. That is now readily available for you to use, but it was meant to get you guys prepared to have site plans drawn out, your information for your insurance if that was needed, and any other information that might have been required, so we can really get that process up and running and get you through the outdoor dining process quickly. So those documents are posted, and that's at the link that I shared before, which is norwalkct.org/COVID-19 business resources. You can find the applications there as well. So we've been readily available. Myself, Steve, and Jessica are all here to help you should you run into any roadblocks. You can feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. 24/7, I'm available to you. Since the application went live today, we've had, as Jess said, over 20 applications. And those 5 being approved is great and amazing, and I only expect to get more. Should you guys have more questions going forward, we're also holding a webinar tomorrow at 3 p.m. with myself, Jessica, and 2 members of the planning and zoning staff. Steve is one of them, and Brian Baker is another one. He is actually who will be communicating with you via email if you should have any questions on your application that we need responses to. So we'll be there and available to you if you have more specific questions for us as a business owner or as a member of the public if you're interested in finding out more information. So other than that, that's it for me. Again, if you need to call or email me at any point in time, if you have questions on your application, or if you have just general, more overview questions that are related to your business, I'm here to help. You can contact me at schurch@norwalkct.org. And my phone number is 203-939-2202. So I'm available via text, call, or email at any time. So thank you. And I'll give it back to you, Mayor, to close.
Thank you, Sabrina. You know, we want to make sure that the public understands that we're all available at all times for telephone calls, for emails, with a limited number of staff at City Hall at any given time, because we're trying to stagger hours and make sure that we're not, you know, we're maintaining that social distance or that physical distance. We perhaps might take a little bit longer to get back to you, but rest assured that we will get back to you in one way, shape, or form. So as I said, we are moving forward with our reopening plan. Phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 will kind of pattern after what the state of Connecticut is doing. I don't know if Jess or Steve or Sabrina have anything else to add before I open it up to questions.
I forgot to mention, if I wasn't clear, I want to make sure I am clear. If you're on, there's a difference between being on private property and on city property. So if you're on private property, the insurance certificate's not a necessary document. So that's something you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, and it's interesting because one of the things that the governor's executive orders allows is if you have a parking lot in your restaurant, you can use the parking lot. If there's a contiguous or not, even if there's a piece of property that's not contiguous that you own, you can use that. You can get authorization from somebody else who has a piece of property and use that to open your outdoor dining. So there's a lot of options in there. One of the things that we're looking at, and I don't know if there's any update on that right now, we know we can't close Washington Street altogether because there's a residential building right in the middle of the block, and they have a parking garage that the residents need access to. But we're looking at the possibility of closing one lane of Washington Street and making the other lane obviously one way so that we can expand the dining options for some of the restaurants on Washington Street that only have a sidewalk to work with. We're also looking to see if there are any other options for restaurants in other parts of town where we may be able to do the same thing. I know Washington Street lends itself to being able to do that more easily, but we're still looking. So I don't know if there's any update on that from Jessica or Sabrina or Steve right now, or.
We don't have an update specifically on the one-way Washington, but we will very shortly. I imagine we will as of tomorrow morning. So we can reach back out and let people know, and also provide them an update on the webinar tomorrow at 3 o'clock when we're all talking about the outdoor dining and retail. I do want to say that that regardless if you're on private property or public property, you do need to go through the application process for an outdoor dining permit or a retail permit. And that Steve is right, private property is different than public property. And as you'll see as you walk through the application, if you are on public property or proposing to be on public property, that's when you need to enter into a legal agreement with the city. So that application has a few more questions associated to it in comparison to the private outdoor dining application, but it's all from the more than 20 people or businesses that have applied using the online permit. We have not heard any issues or any major concerns with the way in which the application is laid out, but we would ask people if they have questions or concerns just to email and call and ask us how to work through that. It's absolutely fine. We're all available, as Sabrina said. So more updates to come tomorrow morning regarding Washington, but we can provide those tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the webinar.
All right, thank you. And I also believe that the restaurants and or the retail outlets, they have to make some notification to the state of Connecticut that they've made all the required permits and so forth. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. Thank you, Mayor, for reminding me. So the DECD is asking all businesses to self-certify that they have read the guidance documents that DECD and the Lamont administration have put out. And self-certifying can happen online. When a business self-certifies, they get a badge, and that badge can be printed out, and that badge should be posted in the window of the business who has self-certified. It's to ensure that they've read the guidance and that they understand that people should be wearing masks, that customers should be more than 6 feet apart, and along with all of the other guidance that we've read about. But self-certifying is really important. They need to have a badge in the window, and it's something that all businesses should be doing sooner rather than later. It's not a difficult process, but it is a required one.
Thank you. All right, we're going to open it up to questions right now. Again, a reminder, if you press the Q&A button down at the bottom, you can type in your question and we'll answer as many questions as we possibly can. I know that Steve has a meeting that he has to attend, and we don't want to hold him up. So are all restaurants able to do outdoor dining, or is it only allowed in certain areas? Jess, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so outdoor dining is allowed in any area in the city of Norwalk, and we encourage people outside of the urban core to be practicing outdoor dining and outdoor retail. So regardless of what location you're in, we will accept the application and it will go through the approvals, and everyone has an opportunity to participate.
Okay. Patty's asking what happened with the hair salons. Well, we got notice today. I think you probably, that's why you're asking the question. We got notice today that the opening of the hair salons will be pushed back until the first part of June. I, for one, was very disappointed because I'd already called my barber and made an appointment for 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, but that's not going to happen. Apparently, the governor is speaking with some hair salon owners and employees, felt that there were a lot of concerns that needed to be addressed, and they have not, they don't feel that they were ready to open. They have to, a lot of things that they have to do within the salon. They have to also get product and get their people back to work. And the governor, in working with the governor of Rhode Island, has indicated that they're going to align their time and probably push it back to the first week in June, I believe. So stay tuned. I guess that was the only reason that I saw. Do you think people will be actually going out to eat? You know, I think people are ready to move forward to some degree. Some people may not feel comfortable. And I must state right now that if you're a person who is in the at-risk, the high at-risk group, you probably want to stay home anyway, because you don't want to take a chance of being exposed to the virus. There's a high risk group, you know, people over 65, people with underlying medical conditions. You should really think twice, and, you know, and people that feel sick. We always say that it's always safe to stay home and to socially distance and physically distance and to quarantine. There will be people that will be going out to eat, and we hope that people can go out and enjoy a nice outdoor dining at night and do so in a safe manner. So it's going to be up to the individuals. I think some people might be a little bit reluctant, but I think there'll be people that really feel that it's time and they really want to get out and start getting back to some degree of normalcy. Steph is asking, what are other communities doing for dining? Do we expect a lot of out-of-towners coming into Norwalk? Jess, Sabrina, Steve, you want to handle that one?
Sure, happy to. So the other towns and cities that we've talked to in Connecticut are doing very similar things to what Norwalk has already done. And they're considering closing streets or one-way streets, outdoor dining, and they're working through their own permitting for outdoor dining and retail. So I imagine that Norwalk might be a couple of days ahead of getting the outdoor dining up and running, just because we were able to post the application today at noon. But other cities and towns are not far behind, and they're going to be offering the same thing. So we've talked to a lot of folks in Fairfield County, and they're all working towards this outcome, which is to be able to get outdoor dining in place so that they can support their restaurants and support residents in being able to get back to what a new normal would look like.
Thank you. Here's a question, and I think it's a really good question, and I believe it pertains to the outdoor dining. There's no name, so I can't ask for a clarification, but I'll give it to one of the three of you. What does it include for the bathrooms? Do they have their bathrooms opened or closed?
So restaurants should have their bathrooms open. The guidance suggests from the DECD in the state that if there's a separate entrance and exit to the restaurant, that both the entrance and exit should be open for customers to be able to cycle through. I know we've talked to a number of different restaurants, and they've been working on managing the bathrooms and putting tape on the floor to be able to signify what 6 feet look like, so that when customers do go in to use the bathroom, they're doing it in a safe way. They've also laid out circular patterns so that if the customer comes in one way, that they're coming in, where they're coming in through the restaurant in a certain way, and then they're exiting out a certain way, so that the people are more than 6 feet apart. So we know restaurants have been thinking about it. It's not something that we've particularly asked them to manage, but it's something that that business owners know that they need to manage as part of this opening.
Thank you. That was a very good question, by the way. Chad is asking, are there penalties for someone if someone doesn't get a permit or doesn't have tables spaced 6 feet apart? There are penalties. There are citations that could be issued. They could be closed down and lose their permit, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, Jess, Sabrina, you want to handle that one? I believe that they could be decertified, I guess, for lack of a better word, and lose their permit and be closed.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, that was easy. Let's see what else we have here. We have, Mayor, is it possible we are going too fast? Will we take one step forward and 2 steps back? You know, that's really a great question. And we are trying to craft this as carefully as we possibly can. If you look around the country, there are other places that are opening much more rapidly than Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. We're trying to do it as safely and methodically and as responsibly as we possibly can. We certainly are going to be monitoring everything that we do, any restrictions that we relax, and we will make sure that if we need to take that step backwards and close something down because we opened it too quickly, make no mistake about it, we will. The bottom line is, it becomes the responsibility of every single individual to do what's right, to practice those universal protocols, those precautions, to make sure that we only go out when necessary. When we're out, if we can't maintain that physical distance of 6 feet, make sure that we're wearing a face covering. Make sure that if you go to the grocery store, I know some people can't, but try to purchase the groceries for the entire week. Make sure that only one family member goes to the grocery store. If you bring 2 and 3 people from the family, you're increasing the likelihood that somebody may contract the virus, and we don't want that. So I have a big concern of making sure that we don't move too quickly, making sure that we analyze and monitor everything that we're doing, and making sure that we don't take that step backwards. We've come so far, we've sacrificed so much. I just want to make sure that we don't start seeing a resurgence. We're closely watching some of the states and some of the other locations that have opened quickly to see if there is a spike in the number of cases. We've seen in some of the cases, like in I believe Singapore and South Korea and other places, and they're talking about the possibility of a spike in Texas. Some of the places that opened too quickly. We're watching to see what's happening in Georgia, in Florida with the beaches being opened. If there's an indication that opening too quickly is causing that spike, then we're going to have to take a real hard look at what we're doing. But rest assured, my team and I are working very diligently, very methodically to try to make sure that we don't have that situation, to make sure that we protect our city. My number one responsibility as the mayor of this city is to protect my citizens, and I take that responsibility very seriously. So we will do what we can and monitor it closely. So thank you for that question. Steve Goldman, is there a website where we can see the daily number of new cases, death, etc. for Norwalk? I would feel much more comfortable if I could see that the numbers were coming down in our area. We put out a briefing every single night with those numbers. The numbers between yesterday and today, we have no new cases, but we have 3 new fatalities. But every single night I put out a briefing, and you can find that on the city website, and it'll give you all the information that you're just asking, the number of cases. The governor puts out his numbers every day as well, so you can see statewide and countywide where things are happening. If you have any questions about that, certainly feel free to email me, and I'll make sure that we get you the information you need. Let's see here. Would the one-way on Washington Street be on one side or down the middle to allow expansion for the businesses on both sides? I don't think we have the rendering yet. We've explored all possibilities. We've explored having one lane down the middle. We've explored closing the south side of Washington Street. There's a limited number of businesses on the north side of Washington Street. I know we have the Blackstones and the A Slice of Italy, which is mostly takeout, and we have Washington Prime, which has adequate seating outdoors already. So we're still looking at what the final design is going to be. What we are wanting to do is make sure that we can give the restaurants the greatest number of spots that we possibly can. We know they've been closed for a long, long time. And so we're going to be working with them to help them out. So it's also a possibility that, for instance, a restaurant that's on the north side of Washington Street, there's no restaurants on either side. They can get permission from the property owners or the businesses to expand their tables to the left and to the right in order to get more tables. So we're working with everybody to give them all the information that we possibly can so they can get the greatest number of tables. Are the closing time restrictions for the restaurants? Who can handle that one for me? I think it's 11 o'clock. I'm not sure.
Yep. So it's what I've read is that the weekdays are 9 o'clock and the weekends are 11 o'clock. Sabrina, is that consistent with what you've heard?
So Friday and Saturday night are the 11 p.m. endings, and all the other days of the week end at 9 p.m.
Okay. Let's see what we have here. Fran, are food trucks allowed to be open? Yes, I don't think they've ever been shut. I think they've always been allowed to open as long as they're in a place where they have permission to open and they have their health permit and they have their inspections and everything. They're tantamount to takeout restaurant. So you walk up and food trucks certainly have been able to operate throughout this entire time. Helen wants to know who is going to be monitoring the beach over a holiday weekend. Well, we have an increased number of police officers that will be on duty. We also have Parks and Recreation staff. Jess and Sabrina and Steve, did we put in, are we hiring some seasonal people to be out and about as well?
I believe so. I know that Parks and Rec will definitely be out to enforce, and police will also be out to enforce as well. I don't know the specifics on the seasonal staff and the seasonal help, but definitely we know that the long weekend is coming up. The weather looks to be quite nice, and we know that people will be visiting the beach. So of course, all the teams will be out there to make sure that everyone is social distancing the way that they should.
Yes, and people need to be reminded that the picnic tables are not going to be available. No grills will be available. We're trying to minimize large gatherings. So if we had picnic tables, we'd have lots of people gathering on the picnic tables and grilling and cooking. This is going to be a different Memorial Day, and we certainly recognize that. And I was just saying earlier, every Memorial Day, my family would go down to Calf Pasture Beach and have a huge opening day picnic, and did the same thing on Labor Day. And I always look forward to that, and I know our residents do too. But these are different times right now, and we have to sacrifice just a little bit more. So we do appreciate your patience. We do appreciate what we're asking you to do. But it's important that we don't have those large gatherings, because that's going to create the spread. Is the mall going to be open? Sabrina, I'm going to give that to you. I believe they're opening on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the mall will be opening on the 20th. We had a previous call with them this week. They're putting in strict social distancing guidelines. Essentially, they laid over a grid of six by 6 boxes over their footprint, and then from that number, extrapolated how many people would be allowed in the mall at once. They've also removed all of the more park-like aspects of furniture that are throughout the mall. So those areas where you were able to sit and congregate, all the furniture is removed. So you will not be able to do that anymore for the time being in the mall. but you will be able to shop with limited capacity. They are trying to enforce the one person per family rule as well. So they're trying to really limit the amount of people that are in the mall at once, and also controlling how many people per family are going in as well.
And that
Okay,
opening is at 11 o'clock in the morning. So if folks want to visit the mall, it's 11 o'clock that they'll be open.
And we did meet with them, and we were quite impressed with their preparation and what they're planning on doing to maintain that physical distancing. Let's see here. Hold on a second. Elsa is asking how much instruction, education on how to wear a mask is being given. I'm seeing many employees of grocery stores, convenience stores, and takeout restaurants wearing masks only over their mouth and not their nose. We have put out some information on the city website. I know there's been lots of information out. I agree. I've seen people do the same thing where they don't cover their nose. If you see that, I was in a store yesterday, I believe. I stopped in and I saw one of the employees not wearing a mask. And he was reported to the store manager, who called him over and made him put on a mask. So all store employees, all people going into the stores should be wearing a mask and or a face covering, and should be wearing that face covering properly, which means covering their nose, covering their mouth. If you do see something like that, I would report it to the store manager because they are required to make sure that their employees are wearing the face coverings correctly. And as I said, there's been lots of information in the media. There's been lots of information on Facebook. There's been lots of information on our website. And I know Deanna, our director of health, has been educating people and helping people understand how they wear their masks. This one will go to Sabrina. Are there any financial programs available for small businesses?
Sure. So we have the PPP program is actually still available. They still have funds available left in that program. So that's the Paycheck Protection Program. So those businesses who may have not applied for it before can apply for that now. I've gotten a lot of contacts from sole proprietorships and single owner businesses. You can now apply for unemployment, which you weren't able to do before. The PPP loans and the other loan products that were made available do apply to sole proprietors as well. So if you have the chance and still need to apply to the PPP program, that is available. There's also a small grant program through Hello Alice. If you were to go on the business resources page that we have, that's also available there. They have a maximum of $10,000 grants available, but it's nationwide, so also pretty competitive. But those programs are still available. Many still have funding available to them. There's the local banks in Norwalk would be happy to run you through the PPP program. I know there's a lot of applicants that have already applied and are kind of waiting for responses. They will come, but there's also money still available. So if you haven't applied, please do that if you still need assistance.
Thank you. Also, relative to the question about monitoring the beach, Leisha, my chief of staff, does confirm that lifeguards, seasonal employees will be hired to be parks ambassadors. As you know, swimming will not be allowed for this weekend, and the amenities in the park, such as the playground, the splash pad, the skate park, basketball court, the volleyball court, and the bocce courts will not be available, but we ask people to keep that physical distance. You're certainly welcome to go sit on the beach and sit in the sand, and but just try to keep your physical distance. But we will have ambassadors helping people and trying to guide people and give them good advice. I have one more question. How many permits do you expect to get? Is every restaurant going to apply? I'll let one of the two of you handle that one, or Steve, or somebody. Who wants to handle that? Jesse? Yes?
Sure, of course. So we've heard from over 60 businesses that they're interested in applying for outdoor dining or interested in doing some sort of outdoor dining. A number of those responses came through a survey that Sabrina and the city distributed last week on Monday, asking businesses if they would be interested. And a number of responses actually came through Norwalk Now as well, indicating that they would like to do that. So we estimate that at least 50 restaurants are going to apply using the online permitting that we put together. What we do know is I did a quick run through of the 33 businesses that responded to our survey, and 20 of them indicated that they would like to do outdoor dining, and only 5 of those 20 have actually submitted an application at this time. So in saying that, if we received over 20 applications and only 5 of those people have indicated that they would like to do outdoor dining, I think that we're going to get at least, I would imagine we'll probably get between 50 and 75 applications through the online software. And that's just a conservative estimate, but happy to give an update tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the webinar.
Well, I have no more questions and the time is exactly 6:15. So I want to thank the public for chiming in, and thank Jessica, Steve, and Sabrina. And the questions were really good, and hopefully we were informative. And again, 8:15 right on the dot. So everybody cooperated, and thank you. We will have another town hall meeting next Monday night, or if necessary, we'll have one sooner. But again, thank you all.